Hi there, this is Mike Ram of Weight Loss and Personal Development, and today I wanted to talk to you about being the most you possibly can achieve. There's a quote by Nelson Mandela which is that what we're afraid of is not that we're inadequate, but that we are so much more powerful than we imagine. And that is something that terrifies us. The last bit isn't part of the quote, but it's a sentiment that certainly seems to reverberate with a lot of personal development teachers, and it reverberates with me because it seems so apt, because I've always had big ideas and generally been told not to pursue them, ideas that aren't achievable. Okay, I'm not the most practical person in the world. And having dreams and visions of a bigger life than I already have. But the fact is that if we don't sort of stretch ourselves and try and get the best we can for ourselves, we don't do ourselves justice. We don't really get to enjoy our lives. Most of us grew up with parents or had significant others that we grew up around. And they, God bless them, put certain beliefs into our minds as we were growing up. And they're probably similar to some of the beliefs that their parents gave them and their parents before them. And very often we're controlled by these beliefs. They get in the way. Certain very common beliefs like, oh, I'm not enough. That is sort of one of the most common fears, that you're not enough, that you aren't really adequate, or that you're not worthy. That's another one. And another fear is that you won't be loved. Step out of line and you won't be loved. That's sort of quite a common one. But there are loads of others, There are others that are prevalent in society about money, which is love of money is the root of all evil, or money doesn't grow on trees, or money ain't everything. Well, it's pretty useful actually, but very useful. Or I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of a partner who I would actually really love to be with. I have to settle for third best. Or I could never achieve that. God, it's way beyond me. I'm not cut out for it. And yet it's something you really want to do. I could never make it to being a sports person, or, playing that sport. Or to achieving whatever, this or that. Being a significant force for good in the world. I could never become a great author. Personally, I'd have loved to have been a great author, or I still would, but something held me back. I wasn't this or that, and so on. And yet these dreams still persist. Why? Because we're able to dream, to have these visions. We're able to conjure them up. And there's a sort of duality in life between the amygdala in the brain and our prefrontal lobes, or prefrontal cortex. I can't remember which. And, I wish I was sort of clearer on that, and I'll look it up. But the thing that seems to often win out in the end is the amygdala, which is an ancient part of our brain that grew up, that was there around our lives in prehistoric times. And it served a purpose, it was very useful. It would warn us that there was danger, and make us feel really stressed in the presence of things that were threatening and frightening. that could end our life on this earth, like the saber-toothed tiger in the mouth of the cave, or the bear that was looking around angrily for somebody to maul, whatever animal, is a definite part of life, or a person with a nasty side who just wanted to kill people. That's when the amygdala is really useful. You wouldn't want to be without it, because it creates the stress and the adrenaline to make you take flight. But when the objects, when the things that are creating the stress have changed out of all recognition, and you're still feeling stress, except far more than was happening in sort of ancient times, because the stress reaction isn't supposed to last very long. It's supposed to be on, off. And yet nowadays people just feel continually stressed out by things, whether it's trying to make ends meet. That's a very common one, getting nasty letters from the bank, or just looking at your bank account and wondering how the hell you're going to manage. Or in terms of people in your office, will you get the sack? Will you be acceptable? Will what your project is about actually pass muster? And all these things, or just dealing with public transport and commuting and stuff, they create stress. And these stress reactions are vastly out of proportion with what the actual thing that you're dealing with should evoke in you. It's very true. It's not our lives that create the stress, but the way we look at our lives. And this is a very prevalent feeling. And the amygdala, the fear, the stress reaction, it stops us actually achieving our dreams. And we have all these limiting beliefs in us that, we can't possibly make a lot of money, we're not that sort of person, we're no good at it, we're hopeless at whatever it is that achieving our dreams would actually entail. It's a curious thing, This brings on the limiting belief that stops us going for what we really want, and yet we still continue to dream. And these things therefore turn into fantasies, which actually turn into a sort of illness. Just because we have a limiting belief about something, it doesn't turn off the dream, so the dream turns into a wishful thinking or a fantasy. I've had that too often. Somebody I wanted to be with, and yet, something stops me. I feel fear, and it stops, can be, quite inhibiting, and you end up with somebody that you don't really want to be with because you don't feel that fear factor, and you accept second best. And that's no way to live your life. It's a hopeless situation, being with somebody you don't really want to be with. You're definitely not going to make a good relationship out of that. And so forth. So actually finding a way of dealing with limiting beliefs whereby these things are just shown up for the masquerade that they are, for the false beliefs that they are, is sort of quite a good process. And personally I went through that doing Tony Robbins' event, and limiting beliefs came up and they were dealt with during this event. And it was very easy to see how little actually they were cogent beliefs. They can run your life, they can control you, but actually they're a load of rubbish. And the things that we think are inhibiting us, they don't have to inhibit us. There may be people that want to stop you achieving what you want to achieve. We've all experienced that. People who want to get in the way, or they want it for themselves and they think they have to compete, and they stop you. But in terms of our internal beliefs, my father used to say to me quite often, much of life is boring. And I think I've lived at times quite a boring life, I've lived it out. It's drastic. Failed to have the slice of life that would have made me truly contented. What a negative thing to say to somebody. Much of life is boring. It sort of doesn't give you a hope, really, if it's taken in too deeply. And when we're young, we tend to cling on to every word these important others say. And it's not that they wanted us to feel like this. It's just that that's how they looked at life. That's how it was for them. They're in their own way, however misguided, they're trying their best. If they're parents, for the most part, they're trying their best anyway. And I think, in their own way, my parents did try their best. But, to think that much of life has to be boring, well, it doesn't really. It's a false belief. It's a load of rubbish. Life can be fascinating, entertaining, interesting and thrilling. And that's how it should be. Anyway, if you can get through past your limiting beliefs and your false beliefs that stop you having the life that you desperately want to have, then it's well worth doing and actually seeing these beliefs for what they are and dealing with them. And then maybe it's possible for you to have exactly what you wanted and be that person who is so much more than he ever imagined. And I mean she as well. So much more than he or she ever imagined he could or she could be. And that's really what I wanted to say. So anyway, subscribe to this channel if you like this video. And if you want to find out more about losing weight, then I do have a free product which is available just by hitting the link below. And leave me a like, and hopefully I'll catch you on another call. Bye for now.